transition from a hierarchical system to decentralized distributed systems, like self-organization swarms, needs a technology like AI to disrupt that system. And the question is it going to be an evolution or a revolution?
We now need technology to go back to our natural state, to a natural way of living, right?
Yeah.
It's super ridiculous.
You could say, for example, that you and I are self-organizing systems. We are like a big bag, with 400 trillion cells that seems to know exactly what they must do, and we have no clue. And the entire universe is a self-organized. I mean, where is the manager of the universe?
We needed this technology in order to make the Symbiosis project work.
The changes today are so paramount. Changes in our society follow an exponential curve. 40% of all laws and rules and regulations that were created ever since human existence were done in the last 75 years.
So the main purpose of doing work is not earning money anymore.
No.
It's living your purpose.
Right.
But we need a complete mindset shift.
Nature works differently. Nature looks at frequencies. Our brains are just a very good antenna that picks up everything out of the quantum field.
For millions of years, nature has been perfecting the art of mutual beneficial collaboration and intuitive design. From the intricate behavior of quantum particles to the complex social structures of ant colonies, the natural world is replete with examples of highly sophisticated systems that operate without the need for formal hierarchies, centralized control, or predetermined plans. At the heart of these natural systems lies a simple yet profound principle: the ability to create order and coordinate behavior through the interactions of individual agents, responding autonomously to local environmental cues. One of the most striking examples of this principle in action is the phenomenon of swarm intelligence. Observed in everything from schools of fish to flocks of birds, swarms exhibit a remarkable ability to coordinate their movements, navigate complex environments, and make collective decisions without the need for a leader or centralized control. Instead, each individual follows a set of simple rules, constantly adjusting its behavior based on the movements and interactions of their nearest neighbors. This local information is then propagated through the swarm, giving rise to complex emergent behaviors that transcend the capabilities of any single individual, even to such extent that they thrive in environments of extreme change and uncertainty. But swarm intelligence is just one manifestation of a deeper underlying principle that permeates all of nature: the principle of self-organization.
Welcome to a new episode of the Conscious Code podcast. My name is Laura Hos, and today I'm here with Evert Blijenberg. And Evert is a speaker and writer about robotics, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, and self-organizing systems. And what I really like about Evert's work is that he connects technological innovations with natural patterns. And what I really like is that he works on self-organizing systems. And that's something that we see everywhere in the world, in the natural world. And it leads to a more thriving future. And he invented a system called Symbiosis, and it works with AI and with blockchain technology. And that system is a new revolutionary system and is a self-organizing system for society. And today we will dive into that topic. So welcome, Evert. Welcome in the studio.
Thank you for having me.
Why do we see so much instability and intensity right now in the world?
Do we actually see that much more intention and instability in the world? That's the question, because if you look at nature, or if you look at history, basically, you see that it's been there before many times, right? If you look at the Roman Empire, the tribal Indian wars, Genghis Khan, whatever, thousands of years ago. I mean, the world has always been a very unpredictable and dangerous place to be. Uh, the thing is, we didn't know about that all, right? We didn't know there were wars in China with Genghis Khan. We didn't know in Europe that the Indians were killing each other over a piece of land, right? But what's happening right now is with internet and specifically smartphone and social networks, all of a sudden we are confronted with all that information, right? So, and we have to think about that, and we think we need to do something about that. And we didn't have that before, right? Humans basically have a hunter-gatherer brain, and that brain is not at all capable of handling so much input. So is there so much difference today? Not really. It influences us much different than it did before.
But these days there is a lot of tension going on right now, right? And there's artificial intelligence coming in the world. I mean, I feel that we are living a bit on the edge. Like sometimes it feels like the old world is collapsing. Like if you see the financial system, if we look at governments, there's a lot going on right now.
It is, it is. And then again, that also is not different from not so long ago, right? I mean, it's just 200 years ago that we had the introduction of the steam engine, right? And what people say, well, it's the end of the world. We're all going to die. It's just 100 years ago before we just barely learned to fly. We didn't even have hot water showers and so on. So there's always big changes. There have always been big changes in every society, in every era. Those changes were they were huge. People thought anything is going to change. But if you look right now, what's going on, and that's one of the key elements of what I'm trying to get out there, is that the changes today are so paramount, right? So changes in our society follow an exponential curve. The change is actually much faster. It's the hockey stick model. So changes are faster than our capability of adapting to this change. Our adaptation basically follows a logarithmic curve. And that creates what we call an adaptation gap, right? And that adaptation gap is a phenomenon known under Martek's law, and that is what creating this anxiety in society. We're like, oh, everything is going to change. But it's not so much that there are changes, it's more the rate of change that's going on right now that is causing this feeling of, well, fear and etc. So that's what I think is one of the real problems.
So the world is changing right now much faster than before.
Well, to those people then, when the steam engine, that change was as big as what we see now with AI. So it's the change relatively on scale. The only thing is that what we see now right there are more changes. The changes are bigger, they're more diverse, they come quicker, they come more often. So yes, the amount of change and the impact of these changes is basically what is getting to us.
So you're working on a very cool project called Symbiosis.
Yes.
And can you tell something about it and why it is important to create such a big new system?
So Symbiosis came from the idea of nature self-organizing capacity. Quick sidestep from what I've been doing. As you may know, I've worked for 25 years in senior management, telecom and IT, many interesting jobs. And after a while, that was around 2001, I decided to move, to change my career. Basically, I became an underwater wildlife cameraman. And if you look at my website, you see all the pictures of the fishes. And during one of the documentaries that we were filming, we encountered a bait ball, which is a huge school of fish. And one of the first things that occurred to me when I was seeing this is who is arranging these? Where's the managers, right? Where are they? And then it occurred to me in my head was going like, how is it possible that a relatively simple creature like a fish can congregate in the millions and achieve this level of organization. We can't do this, right? People can't do this. And there were no systems, there were no processes, there was no management, there was no leaders, no marketing, nothing, right? And I was going like, okay, if these animals can do this, what's our excuse? And I saw in the human society, I saw all these trouble. I mean, it's ever more rules, regulations, processes, laws. And I think we spoke about this, right? Not many people realize this, but about 40% of all laws and rules and regulations that were created ever since human existence were done in the last 75 years. And not much it didn't get that much better. So I was going like, what if that hierarchic systems is at the end of its capability, right? So hierarchy works fine, but to a certain level. And those fish had a better solution. And when I started looking at that, I saw, okay, it's not just fish, it's ants, it's bees. We know them all, but also dolphins. A lot of other animals are doing it. So why can't we use this? And that's when I created Swarm Organization. And from that, we moved to Symbiosis, where we say, well, we can do this when we bring Swarm Organization, self-organization, together with AI and blockchain technology. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to why does it not work anymore? The hierarchy where we are living in right now, the system which we are living in right now. Why is it on the end?
I believe that in order to have structure, hierarchy, if you want, you have to plan, you have to process, you have to arrange things, set rules, limitations, and regulations, so on. And what we see is that the change is actually moving faster than we can keep up with organizing it via a hierarchical system. And this is what nature does, right? Nature says, and I think nature is the ultimate counsel. Mother Nature has all the answers, talks to us all the time about it, doesn't speak English, and we're not listening, right? So, but nature has all the answers. And nature says basically, if we want to solve things, we have to do it at the point of occurrence of a problem, with the available resources and information we have out there. Or basically says at the lowest possible, the smallest possible scale with the lowest energy consumption. And so you see that hierarchic systems require tremendous amount of effort in organizing, structuring, processing.
Managing,
right? If you look at an average organization spends about 30 to 50% of its energy in internal organizations, organizing, connecting. If you go to governments, they actually have a negative output. There's so much time is spent in organizing and connecting and so on that the output is negative. So actually it requires more input than it delivers output. And those swarm systems don't have that. Actually, they're 99% efficient. And it's not me who's saying this. This is scientists who studied natural swarm behavior and said, well, that's the level. So if you look at the question is, why is hierarchy no longer a viable solution? Well, basically, it's too slow, it's too rigid, it's too inefficient, too ineffective. It's not future-proof. It cannot keep up with the rate of change.
But this structure is what we see nowadays everywhere in society, right?
Yeah, remarkably.
Governments,
Everywhere.
Companies,
Yeah.
big systems with the top-down management, with a small top. That's what we see everywhere right now.
Everywhere. Yeah.
But you say it's too slow, it's too big, it does not keep up with the change right now.
No.
So we have to move to another system. We have to move towards a new way of organizing.
Yes.
And you mentioned swarm organization.
Yeah.
Like, what is swarm organization?
Okay, so that's a good question. Allow me to do one step back. So if you look at nature, then you see that hierarchy does exist, but usually only in small family groups. Go look at a herd of elephants or lions or whatever. It's never more than 50 to 100 individuals. So you can say that if you take nature as the guideline for everything we do, you can say that hierarchy is a dissonant, it's an exception, it's a mutation. No, the majority of nature is self-organizing. So, and you could say, for example, that you and I are self-organizing systems. We are like a big bag, with 400 trillion cells that seems to know exactly what they must do, and we have no clue. And the entire universe is a self-organized. I mean, where is the manager of the universe, right? So if you look at, you could, I mean, see, so you could say that's God, right?
Yeah.
And then you can ask the question, where does God come from? Well, he's always been there. Okay, then God is a self-organizing system. Either which way, nature's preferred way of organizing, it's a fundamental property. Self-organization is the organization system of nature, right? Never in nature, ever, you'll find systems with 100,000 individuals that are organized hierarchical. The only ones who are doing that is us, humans. So we are the dissonant in nature. We are the mutation. We are the exception. And then we wonder, while everything is changing ever faster, why we can't keep up with that hierarchical system. Now, and these swarms, what happens in swarms is that basically there's not a big chunk of rules and regulations and laws that's pushed down, from the top down. This is how it's be done. I mean, an average organization of 100,000 people, I mean, they have books, with rules and regulations. And nature has 6 rules. They have just 3 driving principles: eat, don't get eaten, reproduce. The purpose of the swarm is to thrive. And it has 6 rules, which are pushed down into the organization to the lowest possible level. Go figure it out. And the whole of nature works on that 6 principles. So when I look at going back to your question,
What are the swarm organizations? What are the principles of the swarm organizations?
so the principles of swarm organizations are basically, first, you solve the problems there where they occur, lowest possible level of energy. It's 3 drivers: eat, don't get eaten, reproduce. So everything in nature works that way, and then it grows. And everything that doesn't grow is dead. So that's the 3 drivers and the main principle, the purpose of nature. And it has just 6 basic principles. It says it facilitates self-organization of fully autonomous units. It's role-based. There's generalism and specialism in all those roles. They mirror each other in the whole, and they have redundant connectivity, so everybody talks to everybody. And it's highly diverse, so it can match the environment. And those 6 simple rules, I mean, go into any organization, go into governments. How many rules and regulations will you find? Nobody knows, because there's so much that we forgot. How much laws do we have? We have laws that totally contradict each other, and still we keep making more laws. So, and you can say, well, maybe that's a good thing. But if you consider those 2 things, that exponential change in our society, with ever more technology, ever more, I mean, AI is just one. Go look into the field of biotechnology. You'll be amazed what's going on over there. The CRISPR-Cas9 technology, it's unimaginable what's happening right there, right? And all those changes, we're trying to manage with rules, with laws. And every time something comes, and then 10 years later, they make the rules and the laws, but we already moved past that, right? And you see, so that's the reason that the hierarchical systems can no longer function. We have to start looking for something that is faster, that is more efficient, that is more engaging, that's more connecting, that solves the problems there and then when they occur, and you have to give people autonomous self-organization to allow that to happen. And so where did Symbiosis come from? We started talking, and we is me and Chris. And Chris, works on a lower level of the biological properties of nature, basically, and also quantum mechanics and so on. And he said, well, if we need to bring this together, if we have to connect individual units based on swarm principles, we have to find a way to establish that connection. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came around and said, hey, this is the solution, right? Now, and don't get me wrong, I believe if we are a little bit less ignorant, we would acknowledge that we actually don't even need all the synthetic technology. I mean, just look at the principles of quantum mechanics. So quantum particles connect in some way. You can take them 10,000 kilometers apart and they still interact. So we don't need AI or blockchain or DAOs to build self-organizing DAO systems. But for now, we don't have tapped into that biological capability, so we need technology. And when we started thinking about it, so well, if we can bring together the principles of nature, humanity, and AI technology, then we can establish this synthetic swarm network. And that's where Symbiosis was born. And Symbiosis basically enables people to interact on common purpose from all over the world. And you don't need any centralized rulership anymore. You don't need a rule-based order anymore. You don't need all the civil servants and that kind of people anymore. You copy how nature it has been doing for billions of years.
How is it possible that we are actually the only species who does not live in harmony with nature, who is not self-organizing, who has massive companies and structures and systems with hundreds of thousands of people in it? Why are we like that? And why not other groups or species in the world?
Yeah, it's been that way also for a long time. If you go back to where it comes from, first is probably military, religion. And it started when we went from being a hunter-gatherer to a farmer-based communities, right? So we found a little spot. That's where our food came from, and we started protecting that. If you look at nature, that still happens. Every animal has a territory in which he works, and so that and to protect that, you have to have people who are willing to be very violent, basically, and so those people rose to the top. So the biggest megalomania and idiots and brutal people rose to the top, and then they started mating. So you created a whole line, a elite line of people who were basically very violent. And that's where I mean, rulership is always based on the projection of power, control, punishment. So it's per definition fear-based, it's codependent, and is degenerative. Because if you look at society, you see that all the big societies, even the Roman Empire, so they destroyed themselves from within, right? Nobody attacked the Romans. The Romans became so decadent, basically, that the empire destroyed itself from within. So how do we get there is difficult time create great leaders, you know that line. And we're right now in the phase that we have good times and we have weak leaders, and the weak leader, and it's you see it already. It is a long history of how hierarchy became the preferred way of organizing, and once these guys or ladies who are in the top and establish their how you say that their preferred position, they're not very much willing to let go of it. And that's what you see happening in a world, right? You see that they are protecting their position because they depend on it. Because they can plant anything, they can grow anything, can fix your faucet if it breaks or your car, anything. These are people that live by the fact that they have been chosen elite. There's a rule-based order to it. That's their only existence, right? So they're going to protect it with everything they have. And that's why probably the transition from hierarchical system to decentralized distributed systems, like self-organization swarms, needs a technology like AI to disrupt that system. And that disruption, the question is it going to be an evolution or a revolution, right? But that is where we are right now. We actually living in the era of this revolution or evolution that's going on.
It's super interesting that we are now living in this time. But what I feel, and I think a lot of people feel right now, is that the people in power, the governments, the big companies are trying to take more control
Yeah.
on the people.
Yeah.
And you
Sure.
see it with central bank digital currency,
Yeah.
a digital ID. I feel that they are using the technologies and also the artificial intelligence technologies to get more grip on society.
Yeah, it's based on greed. Yeah.
To take more control and there are coming more and more laws and rules and
Yeah.
people feel restricted. Also, a lot of people are leaving the Netherlands right now because they feel restricted and not so
Definitely.
free anymore.
Yeah.
So why do you think that they are trying to take more control now? Is it because they are losing a bit of grip, or because they cannot keep up with the fast changes?
Last one, definitely, right? Because look at the Dutch government. I mean, there's 150 idiots who do not know nothing about IT. Then I mean, we did a research about 5 years ago about the level of people who actually can do something, who run a company, who build something. 2 of 150 people were actual entrepreneurs who establish something. The rest is only. I mean, it is a total paper construct. It has nothing to do with reality. It is completely taken off from the rules of nature. I mean, we just mentioned very quickly the corona situation. Well, we have human rights. Well, within a second, those human rights and law, they went out the door. That are not laws. Real laws you cannot avoid. You know, if the law of gravity, you can stand on a high building, jump off, and say, "No, the rules is going to go away." No, you're just going to fall to your death, right? So those are the real laws. So what you see is a total construct, and the ruling elite has their own existence right from being the ruling elite. They say you should do that, and then we're going to enforce that, right? And that whole thing, and every time more rules come, which they then have to enforce, so they're growing their empire. And in a transformation from one system to another, which we've seen also many times, so we went from the agrarian era to industrial, so on, right? You see that the ruling elite is the last group of people that actually goes with the transformation because they're losing control. And the only way they know to keep that control is force more power, more rules, more regulation, more control, more punishment. And that's exactly also what you... So just by looking at what you see happening in society right now, we know we're in the transition, right? Because they're resisting on every front. The question is now, again, is it going to be an evolution or a revolution? Is it going to be violent or is it going to be democratic? Right now, it seems to be the first one. So it's going to be with power, violence, and so on. It points in that direction. If that's really going to happen, I don't know, but it's pointing in that direction.
Can we say that right now we're living in ultimate disharmony with nature?
Well, we is not the entire people of this planet. I mean, there are enough people who still live in forests, work with nature, and obeys the laws of nature. And but I mean, if you look at the urbanized part of the world, the global south or the global west, yes, I believe we're in contradiction. What we work against nature, not with nature. Like I said, nowhere in nature you find collectives of 100,000 people which are organized hierarchically.
No.
It just doesn't exist.
It's very unnatural.
It's very unnatural. Yeah. And here's the thing, right? How long are we here for? 200,000 years, right? We think much of ourselves. The dinosaurs have been here 140 million years. So they're gone. 99% of everything that lived on this planet is gone. there's no reason to believe that we're going to be here for 140 million years. But somehow we believe we're, the crown on creation and so on. So we think that we can take nature and make nature do what we want. And that dissonance, I mean, nature is very clear about that, right? Nature says an organism only exists because it has managed to adapt itself so good to its environment that there is a need for it to be there. It creates value. And if it doesn't create value in the system, it just disappears. And nature is very clear on that. You don't create value, you go against, you disappear. So I hope that we get wise. We're now starting to be intelligent, but now we have to get wise, that we see that with this new technology, we are being given an opportunity, right, to do the right thing, to start working with nature, to create collectives that are fully democratic, which do not rely on power, punishment, control, fear-based, codependence, degenerate. So we have been given that opportunity. And Chris and I always say, see, technology is neutral, right? If I make a knife, I have the choice to either make my bread with it or kill somebody with it. It has nothing to do with the knife, right? And throughout history, mankind has always made the wrong choice first, right? We discovered fire and we started to put each other on fire, and then we figured out we could also cook on it. And, atomic energy, right? First the bomb and then the energy.
Yeah.
So I hope with AI, we will now do the right thing first. Use it to become a part of nature first.
So it's very important that we use technology in a conscious way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you said, okay, we are on the forefront of a very big change in society. It can go with a revolution or more calm.
Yeah. Evolution, revolution. Yeah.
Evolution or revolution. What role does AI play in this story?
Oh, it's the oil in the gears. It is the enabler. We could create a human swarm. And don't get me wrong, within a swarm there is also competition, because they're all autonomous units, fully independent. And the fish in the school that I have observed, there's no one telling them what to do. They decide themselves. I can go either there, outside of the school, or inside the school. Inside the school has advantages, outside the schools have advantages, and they're constantly making a conscious decision where they're going to be. Now, the interesting part is that I believe in this evolution of thinking that we need to go through, right? That is paramount. But a lot of people also say, well, we have to develop our consciousness. And I go like, okay, is that true? Because all these animals that built these beautiful self-organizing systems that solve problems that we don't even can are supposed to be non-conscious. So is conscious actually a factor? I don't know. I like to think that's the case, but I don't know that it is the case. Nature works differently. Nature looks at frequencies, energy, vibration. There's this good story of Einstein saying, well, nature doesn't play dice, right? And then Niels Bohr said, yeah, but it doesn't do mathematicals either, right? Nature looks at frequencies. It sends energy. It flows energy to where resonance occurs. And that's where systems are being built. And it does that at the lowest possible scale with the lowest possible energy. We don't notice, or people don't realize it, but one prompt on ChatGPT costs 12 kilowatt hour of energy. 12 kilowatt hour for one ChatGPT prompt. Our brains works on 2 watts. So nature does things way more efficient than we have ever been able to do that. I think that, And this, I said, you ask a lot of philosophical questions. You know, we can go into the technology and all the details and so, but these are philosophical questions. What will this technology do with us? Well, it will change us forever. We are no longer the smartest thing on this planet, right? Bob de Wit once said, if a rat designs a human, how long do you think will the human keep listening to the rat telling him what to do? And we're on this phase right now, right? So we're starting to acknowledge that we are developing a system, a technology, a machine that is becoming smarter than we are. And our predominant reason for domination on this planet was how smart we are. So it's going to change everything. Nature, however, is not at all impressed with intelligence. Otherwise, how could stupid ants or termites or bees or whatever build all that stuff? Nature is clear in that. You don't need to be intelligent to do beautiful things, right? And as smart as we are, as beautiful as our brains are, I think that is not the primary function of us being there, right? Our brains, to me, our brains are not the intelligence. Our brains are just a very good antenna that picks up everything out of the quantum field. Yeah, and the quantum field puts somewhere a resonance in our brain that stores the identity, the information for an identity, and that's our soul, right? So that's where it comes from. It's you have to think. I think of it this way. If you look at somebody playing piano in the radio, then you know that the piano player is not in the radio. The piano player is somewhere else, right? Our conscious is not here. It's out there somewhere. It just converges in every single individual that makes you, right? So again, philosophical. I think that if there's a consciousness in us about what is going on right now and where we're going to, then it is the realization that we are nature. We are nature, right? It's not nature and humans. No, we are the same thing. We are all made of the same invisible stuff, little quantum fluctuations, right? Which have no time and no place. 50% of the time they're not here. We don't know where they are, but they're not here. But they make you, they make me, they make this table, this microphone, everything. Right? And that's all part of the same Mother Nature. So like I said, Mother Nature has all the answers. We just have to figure out what they mean.
Wow.
Right? Technology, what we see happening right now in the world, the changes that we're going through is a learning phase. We're growing up. We're going from a teenager to the adult. And the adult is the person that has to realize that he has to do his own decisions, that he doesn't have the power to control everything, and he has to go with the flow, right? Now, that's nature. That's the exact moment where we are right now. And everything that happens around it is the struggle of us people to deal with this. To deal with this shit, basically, right?
So the system we're having right now is in disharmony. It's not working anymore.
No.
So we have to move to another system. You called already Symbiosis.
Yeah.
It's something you invented together with Christian Kromme. Yeah. How can we shift from this massive system to another one? Like, what is needed to move towards a decentralized, transparent, self-organizing society and system? Yeah. I mean, we need a catalyst, or we need something to because people in power right now, they don't want it to do it themselves. They're not willing to let their power go and let all the regulations and laws go. Even if they want to do it, I think people will be very in chaos and do not know what to do anymore because they are very reliant on the rules and the system. Correct. So how can we shift towards another system, which is, I mean, we need a lot of good people and consciousness to move towards such a different system.
What do you think?
I think there is some chaos needed. I think chaos in society. I think the systems that we have right now need, I don't want to say collapse, but well, maybe yes. I think, for instance, the financial system is very important
Yeah.
in this system. I mean, it's without a financial system, it wouldn't look like this. I mean, we're all very connected to our finances. We need money in order to survive. So, but nowadays, I think you see a lot of disruption in the financial system. We see a lot of inflation. We see a lot of people buying gold and silver because they don't trust the dollar anymore or the euro. So the fiat money that we have in our societies, people don't trust it anymore, and they look to other solutions like Bitcoin because it is decentralized and not connected to a specific bank or something.
Correct.
But I think because there's so much debt right now in society, like the United States of America, they are in massive debt. And I think
33 trillion, I believe.
yes, I think we are moving towards a point that system will maybe crack or maybe collapse. I don't know how it will look like, but I feel what we are seeing right now with the financial system, it's not going to work for a long time anymore like this, I think. So maybe a collapse of one segment, like the financial system, will be the catalyst for other parts in the system to collapse. Yeah. So I feel that we are moving towards something like this. Mm-hmm. And when there is chaos and when systems collapse and they don't work anymore, and they really don't work anymore, I think that people are open to a new solution. Yeah. And I also think that artificial intelligence is going to make this transition more smooth and faster. That's also why I was really interested in your project Symbiosis, because you said to me before this podcast, without artificial intelligence and blockchain technology, it would not work. No. We needed this technology in order to make the Symbiosis project work. Yes. And Symbiosis actually, on a big scale, self-organizing the society.
It's the purpose. We call it the purpose matching network. So really short about that. Basically, what we do now is that we look around. How can I make money? And secondary most is our purpose. What do we like to do, right? So you see, people have work and they have hobbies. Within the Symbiosis network, people have a purpose. What do I like to do? Where is my value in this life? And within Symbiosis, everything evolves around purpose. And the network is so intelligent that it connects people with a similar purpose. And from there, things grow. Again, nature works, finding frequencies that resonate, and energy starts to flow. And that is the whole idea of the Symbiosis network. And we need those technologies, otherwise it wouldn't work.
So people make a profile in Symbiosis, and they can say where they are good at and what they like and what they feel that their purpose is. Yeah. And the Symbiosis program will connect you to other people with the same purpose, but with a different kind of specialism. Yes. So together you can work in teams. Yes. And
did you read about this already?
I read a little bit about it, but I was really fascinated about it because I really want to have this in my life. Yeah. I'm always looking for people with the same purpose, with the same interest, but different specialism. Yeah. But it's very hard to find people. I mean, we have social media, we have LinkedIn, we can find some people with a bit of the same purpose, but this technology, like this system, Symbiosis,
it will find you.
It will find you, and the people will find you, and you don't have to look for them. And I think it's so efficient because you can work together with people with the same purpose and the same energy on projects that I mean, for me, it's unbelievable.
If you look at some of the ways how, for example, governance works in self-organizing systems, right? I sent you a little video about it. Just take a look at that, and that also clarifies some things. In nature, it works like we don't have a rule that says we have to go to the left or to the right. No, somebody raises, I think we need to go left because I see food there, right? And then a lot of other fish go, yeah, we're going to go with you, right? And that there is the decision. So the level of participation or inspiration or motivation to go do something is the decision at that point there, right? 1 second later, they're going to all go back, but that doesn't matter. So, and a Symbiosis platform works with those principles. It says, okay, you have a common purpose. That can be you like motorcycles, you like football, whatever, right? Ballet, piano, whatever. And just in your device, important note, we have designed the architecture such a way that you have like an avatar of yourself, a digital twin, but it only lives in your personal device. Nobody gets the information that's in there. And that is important because what we see happening right now in the world, the governing structures are trying to pull that information for you and store it somewhere that they can access it. That is out of the question in the Symbiosis platform. The Symbiosis platform creates a digital avatar from you in your own personal device. That gives off like a digital fingerprint into the network. And based on that information, you are matched with people who have likewise purpose. And all of a sudden, once you, and I mean, in the old days, you have to fill in forms, but now with AI, this machine is just talking to you. What are you going to do today? And from everything he learns from you, he builds your avatar. And he knows that you like motorcycles. He knows that you like to go to a concert and which concert. He knows it. And all of a sudden he says, well, we found other people around the world from here to Japan and to New Zealand and wherever who are similar to you, who like the same things that you do, who wants to achieve the same things that you want to do. And all of a sudden you have created a virtual swarm of people that can work together towards their common purpose. And that is, it doesn't exist.
So the main purpose of doing work is not earning money anymore.
No.
It's living your purpose.
Right.
But we need a complete mindset shift.
It will take a generation, Laura, unfortunately. Because you, and I, of course, there's a lot of information, but we studied this, right? My parents worked for money. They had no choice, right? If they had a shitty job of an asshole of a manager, sorry, excuse my French, right? They had no choice. They had to work for money. Then we came, the baby boomers, right? We had choices. We went for the second car, the fifth color television, whatever. So we were building luxury, right? Living standards, basically, went up. Now, today, Gen Z, you're very close to that, right? Gen Z, you can go to Gen Z and say, well, I'm going to give you a job and you're going to make money and this and that. And say, I'm not interested. I don't want to sit in my office building typing zeros in a crazy, right? I want to work 3 days a week. I want to work hard, but no more than 3 days a week. I want to have freedom. I want to have all those things, right? And if you look at Gen Z, what they are qualifying as work looks like the principles of swarm organization.
Yeah, people are not willing to work full-time for a company they don't like.
No.
For a purpose they don't feel.
They don't want.
So that mindset shift is already going on right now, right?
So they work for quality of life. And quality of life is much more tied to fulfilling your purpose, doing what you think is good, makes sense, add something to this world, to other people, right? And if I make a little money, I don't care, as long as I feel good about what I've been doing and what I'm leaving behind on this planet, right? And so big companies, which are mostly run by people like me, gray old man, white old man, who come from the baby boomers, who are not as avant-garde thinking as you are or other people are, say, well, you're going to come and you're going to have a salary, and if you don't work hard, I'll give you more salary. And the baby boomers are not interested at all. And it becomes worse once those people in the top of those multinationals figure out that they can do without people. And they think they're going to make money of that. Because all the knowledge jobs, all the robotics are just going to go away. They don't need people anymore. Again, look at the little video about Elon Musk building his Proximus robots. It is going to go away because the machines are way cheaper. This is efficiency. It has nothing to do with fulfilling purpose. So what are all those people going to do? Well, first of all, they have loss of income. We can solve that with a UBI, which is not good, but we can do that. But probably much more important, certainly for the new generation, is what does this mean to me? Who am I in this world, in this life? What am I leaving behind? What can I be proud of later when I'm dying? This is what I've done, right? And you will see a shift from the young generation, and that's the generation probably that is willing to adopt a system like Symbiosis. Is we're going to do it differently. And you know the law of division of innovation, right? It starts with the 3% early adopters, or the fans basically, and then you go and you have to come to about 15% to know you get the early majority in, to make that change to a new way of thinking, a new way of acting, of working, of living. And if you look at where we are right now in the total workforce, so 45% is still Gen B and X, me, and then you have Gen Y, the millennials, and then Gen Z is now about 20%. And from the Gen Z, you have like 10% who is going there. So it takes a while before we get to the 15%, and then it flips around. So and it's gonna take. You say it needs a disruption. Disruption are mostly not evolutionary; they are chaotic. Right?
And we talked about maybe a financial crisis, but maybe another reason why there will be chaos in society is because of artificial intelligence and the massive job loss it will generate.
Yep.
And we already see it now in society.
Yep.
A lot of jobs will not exist anymore, are not existing anymore. But I think in the coming 2-3 years, we will see massive job losses. And I think that will also be like a catalyst, how we can move towards a new system.
Yeah, I remember Microsoft just last month sacked 10,000 people. And those are the top of the line programmers, basically. And AI is now programming better than the top programmers. And we told a lot of those millennial people, basically, who are doing that, don't work with your hands, learn programming because that has the future. What you see right now is actually the people who can do something with their hands.
It's very special these days.
You try to find a plumber,
Yeah.
right? And if you find one, I guarantee he's over 50.
Yeah.
Because so you see that all of a sudden what we believed were practical low school jobs are now all of a sudden going. And the question is, I believe that Gen Z is seeing that. They're going like, hey, I don't see any value anymore sitting behind a computer screen typing zeros and ones into a computer. I mean, what does that actually do for me? I haven't built anything. I've not helped anybody, right? It's too abstract. And they're going to go back to actually building stuff. So maybe so AI, I mean, if you look at the technology, it's simple, but I'm extremely impressed by it. You know, if you ask the thing a question within 3 seconds, and you go like, damn, that's good. Huh? So, but it is mostly, it is knowledge that is already there. Because AI found the knowledge somewhere in the internet, and that knowledge was mostly created by humans.
Yes.
And it's building on that, and it's combining but AI itself, you talked about the financial system, right? Now, financial system is adapting AI. Why? Because it's more efficient, it's quicker, it's faster, so on. Efficiency, innovation for efficiency is always a race to the bottom. It in the end, it destroys value, right? So innovation for disturbance creates value. So the financial sector is now adopting AI because they think they're going to make quick money. In the end, it will kill them. It will destroy it. Because what AI does, it copies human behavior, it replicates, it simulates, and it can do that unlimited. And there's one rule in economics that says scarcity is value. And if something is abundant, it's worth nothing. That's what the fiat money, 71 under Mr. Nixon, we let go of the gold standard worldwide. You saw all the fiat currency do this, inflation. And inflation is basically governments printing money because they spend too much. And it's actually a hidden form of taxation. So it's disgusting to see again that the people at the top, they're not there for us. Absolutely not.
No.
They're not there for us. They're there for themselves. If you see what's coming out of the Epstein files, if you see what's coming out of European Union, I mean, it is disgusting.
But actually, it's good news that the Epstein files are now out in the open, because more and more people see that the governments are mostly corrupt and that they're not for us, that they are there not for us. So actually, we see already change in society, right?
Yeah.
More people wake up from the idea that the government is there for them, to help them, to support them. I mean, it's not completely corrupt, but there's a lot of bad dynamics now going on. I think.
See, corruption it means that everybody has a price, and if the price is not your life, you're for sale, right? So you could say, if I were a government official, I would not be corrupt. You don't know, because if somebody takes a gun on the head of your best or your children, what do you do? But here's an interesting one. If you have a distributed leadership system, which is self-organization, which is swarm organization, because there are no fixed leaders, leadership shifts depending on what direction we're going. If the schools get that direction because there's food there, then the guys on top are the leaders. But if they see food on the other side, then the leadership shifts to another fish on the other side. It's not that fish that's going to the other sides, as we do. We take the manager, right? No. The role of leader shifts to the other side, finding the food on that side. This means basically that in a school of 1 million fish, which do exist, there are 1 million leaders. Now, how and who are you going to corrupt in a self-organizing system? So the beauty of swarm organization, self-organization, or the symbiosis system is that it's uncorruptible. Because if you have a hierarchy and you want to change something, where do you go? There.
Yeah, the
right?
top.
To the top.
Yes.
And this is exactly one of the reasons. If you look at a better way of democracy, if you want to get rid of all the corruption, of all the obstruction, all the sick leave and whatever, and the detachment that we see in a hierarchical organization, take away the leadership. How do you do that and still keep control? Self-organization. 6 simple rules.
So there's no top, so nobody
Nobody in charge.
to blackmail.
Nobody to blackmail.
So
Nobody to corrupt. You cannot. So the symbiosis system is also so designed that whoever gets into it, how many tokens you have, has no influence whatsoever on what decisions you can make in the system.
So one big question. Our society now drives on money. And
Yeah.
people want to earn a lot of money and have a lot of property and
Yeah.
to grow.
Wealth is freedom. Yeah.
Yes, so in a self-organizing system, money is not the most important, prize anymore. It is following your purpose and contributing to society, right?
Yeah. But you have to eat.
You have to eat. So how would we distribute the value, the money? I mean,
Excellent
I think it's
question.
very hard for people to imagine a world where money is not the most important thing to earn with your job.
Better said, it's impossible. right? We have to have something that helps us exchange value, and it can be goods or services. So basically, every economic value is goods or services, right? So that's why the financial system doesn't work, because there's no goods and services attached to it anymore. It's just this bubble, right? But within this network of people that have direct connections, value can be exchanged using tokens. And we know already how to do that, Bitcoin, right? So
The blockchain
the
technology.
blockchain technology. And so the blockchain has several functions in the system. One, it records all the transactions that are going on between people. You know, he had a project with him, so on. So that's organized. But also you can store value in there. The only thing is that voting tokens, so decision making within the system, is separate from the value that you make within the system. And I think that what we tend to forget is that money has no value whatsoever, and money is basically a way to measure value, and a very bad one.
Yeah.
Because it's losing its value while we look at it.
Yeah.
You see? And but it is an exchange mechanism. If I want to buy potatoes and you want to buy meat, and we both have to make a meal, then you give me half the meat, I give you half the potatoes, and we're happy. But if you don't need meat or you don't need potatoes, but you need something else, and I don't have that, how can I then still get, the potatoes or the meat, whatever I want to? And so we made a generic exchange mechanism, but that exchange mechanism was then decoupled from actual value, gold, right? And then it went off. So one of the things that we're doing in the Symbiosis system is actually coupling directly to either services you can explain as worked hours. Well, that's a value, because if there's one thing limited in our lives, it's time that we live. So we can connect value to services, or the time that we spend, or actual physical goods. And we can express that in a currency, but it has to be attached to something. And so the best thing we came up with is actually living hours. So hours from your life spent on something, and you can make a currency basically out of that and connect that in a blockchain. Bitcoin would do that probably already. So the financial system as we know it right now is at the dead end. I mean, it is only a matter. I thought it already happened in 2019.
Not
I
yet.
think they hit it. I think it actually crashed already, but they hit it. But anytime now, it will go down, and by that time, I hope you have something assets, right? Something that you really can, a house or gold or whatever that you can hold on to. That would help. But still, it will be a crash. It will be, and also that happens every 70, 80 years. Huh? So it's been there before. It's braced for impact, I would say.
So with artificial intelligence and with blockchain technology, such a new system which you're creating is possible. But without it, it was not possible yet.
Well, yeah, like I said, if we learn to use our biological capabilities of interacting with other people, telekinesis, whatever, telepathy.
So it should function.
It could function, I think, but we don't have it. So, or we lost capability to it. But the technology that is now available, and it is the DAO technology, which is basically blockchain technology with the artificial intelligence, is an enabler. It's a facilitator. And I mean, remember, it only started in 2023 with ChatGPT. So we're just 2 years ahead. But that is, I expect a lot of that. And I mean, Bob DeWitt and Chris have the same vision. You know, we're right now at the cliff of the big jump.
Yeah.
And it's going to do a lot. And it's going to be rough sometime, but in the end it will give new insights and new possibilities. So I think how do I again, I believe this has happened before. it's not totally new. We have seen similar
Mm-hmm.
changes. Had nothing to do with computers, but when we changed in the Netherlands from an agrarian system
Mm-hmm.
to when the VOC started, right? That was an earthquake for most people. So it has happened before.
But it's now on bigger scale.
It's now worldwide, and we've grown from 500 million people on the planet to 8 billion. And at that time, if something happened in the Netherlands, the people in India couldn't care, right? Now, if something happens in New York, London, Munich, or whatever, the whole world's going up and down. And we've seen that already. It only takes a little thing, say relatively on the scale of the world. Russia invading Ukraine is a minor glitch in the system. But the whole world went crazy, right, about it. And again, this is the question you started with, basically. Is it truly that the intensity and the changes are so tremendous? Well, no, it happened before, but we see it. It's there. Internet, smartphones,
Yes.
social media.
I think it has happened before, as
Yeah.
you said, but
We didn't know.
I think it's now
Way
way
bigger.
more intense,
Yeah.
way more big and international, and
Yeah, and that happened because of the modern technology, right? That happened because we now can. I mean, in my early years, when I went to Bonaire, where I live, and I went there for a month, I called home one day via telephone, right? And we sent postcards. Remember, I'm on holiday. Yeah. Now I can talk to the family every
Yes.
minute, live, right?
yeah.
So, and those, I mean, the only thing is that the changes are, I think that change is equally big as for people who were going around with horse and carriage and then see, hey, there's this steam machine that can do this all of a sudden. Oh, what do I do with the horses now? Well, you're going to eat them, something, right? So that change was equally big. The only thing is that now the changes, they come faster. And there are more changes simultaneously. There's more diverse. So there's much more different changes on every area. And they come quicker, they come faster, they're bigger. So the sheer amount of changes, we think a lot of ourselves, but we can't keep up with this. We can't keep up.
And actually, we now need technology to go back to our natural state, to
Yeah.
a natural way of
I
living.
hope so, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's super ridiculous, actually, and very contradiction.
Yeah.
Very big contradiction.
There was somebody say, well, the atom bomb, our brain, our senses built the atom bomb, and now we hope the atom bomb builds our wisdom. So this is the story with technology. We have to go there. I'll put it a different way. I mean, if you're a mountain climber and you go all the way up to the top, you still have to go down to tell the other people downstairs that you've been up there, right? Because there's nobody there. And since nobody knew at that time what was up there, you also could stay downstairs and use his imagination. And because the people downstairs were afraid of imagination, they had courageous people with camera, and they stand up and say, well, it's really true, right? So technology is something that we use it. We use it to limit our anxiety or our fears, or try to solve problems that are not really problems. And if you look at the bird, he doesn't have a home, he doesn't have a car, he doesn't have any regulation, he doesn't have a boss, right? But all the things that we have that create problems, and we need technology to solve those problems. You can also take away the problem itself, right? If you don't have a car, you cannot have a flat tire. Understand? So this is this is a way of the technology is showing us the way, and simultaneously it's solving our problems, but simultaneously it is pointing the way back. You say, why are you actually here? The problem you have, you created yourself. So
Actually, we can find all solutions in nature, right?
I'm convinced of that. Yeah, I'm convinced of that. Like I said, Mother Nature has all the answers. I'm a scuba diver. I've been diving since 1993. I became a scuba instructor and then later on underwater photographer and videographer. And I've seen dolphins do things that they couldn't have done if they weren't talking to each other. I've watched whales dive 1.5 kilometers down in the ocean. A whale is a mammal. It has to hold its breath for almost an hour. If I, as a scuba diver, dive to 80 meters, I die. Well, I die, really, I die. So after 80 meters, I have to do all kinds of technical stuff to survive that. The mammal, is a sperm whale, does this just with what he has, with his body. We have no clue, but he does it. So probably, or for sure, nature has found a way to let a mammal, a air-breathing, live birth-giving, suckling animal, weighing 40 tons, 80 meters long, dive to 1.5 kilometers depth, holding its breath for half an hour, return safely to the surface, and repeat that 20 times a day. Nature has the answer. We haven't figured out how it works. And there's and the same goes, so one of the things that I'm always going, if I do the lectures on swarm organization, they say, well, but that doesn't work. And why doesn't work? Well, we have not tried, but look at nature. It's happening everywhere. So if they can do it, why do we need all these things that are creating problems, ever more rules, regulations, more hierarchy, control, punishment, fear, well, we could do it that way. So I keep pointing to all the fish and the birds and the bees. Say, look, learn. We are Mother Nature.
Yeah.
So why can't we do it? And all the problems that we see, all the things that you mentioned about the financial system, about the power structure, the elite, what they are doing right now, those problems were created by us. And we're trying to make rules and regulations and lots of technology to then solve the problems that we created in the first place. Purely for them to keep in control. You tell me what we should do about that. I have a pretty good idea, but again, it takes a lot of time. And also, people like Christian also see this. So.
You're working on this platform, Symbiosis.
Yeah.
But it's not there yet.
No.
Because it's a very big project.
Yeah.
And it needs a lot of money to create it, right?
Yeah. We're talking about millions, yeah. We need one Elon Musk, but yeah, we have come up with the architecture, so basically describing the interaction in the system, how it should work. First the big blocks, and then we're trying to get to the nitty-gritty bolts and nuts level. How that actually should work. Then you need people who can do the coding. We tried asking AI, by the way, but he said, well, this is complicated. So even AI said, well, this is... but anyway, it takes money, it takes time, it takes willingness. And then again, even if you have that all, then still you have to find a reason, a purpose, or a value proposition for people to say, hey, I'm going to go off of Instagram or off of Facebook and then go to the Symbiosis platform. What is actually in it for them to make that switch? And and that will take time. So it will require a massive amount of marketing effort. It will require lots of money to build it, to scale it. So it's a big project. I hope we will get it done. But, well, let's keep it there. I hope we'll get it done.
Okay, so you said we need actually something. The people need something like a trigger why they would want to move towards a symbiosis system.
Yes.
And you also said, well, I'm not sure about the consciousness story. Like, we
No.
need to reach higher levels of consciousness. Well, actually, I think that we need higher levels of consciousness so that people want to move towards such a system and to leave this old system, because this old system is based on fear, control,
Yep.
also a lot of anxiety. People are very anxious these days. So I think what we now see in society is that people are reaching higher levels of consciousness because they don't want this anymore. They see that this system is not always very good for them. And now with the Epstein files, people see that the governments and the people in charge are maybe a bit corrupt.
A bit. They're
so
not to be trusted.
I think we already reached higher levels of consciousness, and people want to live more in harmony with nature, and they want it, but they feel limited because they need to earn the money. They need to do the job they don't like in order to survive. So I think a lot of people feel that they don't want this anymore. So actually, yes, I think that we need higher states of consciousness in order to move towards a new system with better principles, decentralized, more transparent. So I think, yes, the question is a bit hard, like what is consciousness and how can we reach higher levels of consciousness? But I think that's the key. One of the keys.
Yeah, it is. It is. So that's what I said. See, personal evolution, absolutely paramount. Consciousness, growth in consciousness or awareness, it's close to each other. Of course, we have to be aware. I think that is important. What I said is, if I look at the animals that make these incredibly complex collectives of 100,000, and they are not supposed to be conscious in any way, right? An ant, how smart is an ant? I mean, and they can achieve that. So this, my thing was from, okay, first, do you need to be very smart to organize very well? No.
No.
No. So that's simple. So you don't need that, right? So that is so the system, the principles of how that work.
They don't.
They don't need to, the units don't need to be very smart. The system. I mean, you could say if you have stupid ants and they work like 100,000 together and they become more intelligent, right? And that's what they call swarm intelligence. They do things they couldn't do on their own, right?
Wow.
Right. So that's it, right? So, but the system creates that. And if you have humans and they have the same principles, then humans are much smarter than ants, right? So all the humans together would get much smarter. Swarm intelligence. So the funny thing is, and I think that nature works that way. Frequency, energy, resonance. So the system allows then to grow a higher level of collective intelligence just simply by using those rules, by using that system. And this is, by the way, I said this to Chris also, let's start the system and let people start working with it and then see what it brings to them, right? So that's where we started out. People nowadays feel powerless against what is being done to them, with them, to them. And the question is, why do they actually feel powerless? Why don't they revolt? Why don't they? Because they have a level of convenience. And, well, somebody's killed on the street. Hey, not my problem. So I lived in Washington, D.C. No, I've seen dead people on the street. But you don't get involved, right? Because next is you laying there. So that's that. Those big conglomerates, hierarchically ruled from top down with rulers, tend to distantiate themselves from empathy. Yes? And it takes something for people to go there, to make that step, to get involved, to really do something. First thing that happens, all education is controlled by government. You are not told how financial systems work on elementary school, not even in college. You're told how tax systems work. Why do you think that is so? right? So and with that, the people that should make the change, they say, hey, again, the taxes go up. Yeah, we got to do something again. And don't know what, because they were never told. Huh? And therefore, the change will be revolutionary, probably. It will be chaotic. It will have a level of violence. It is necessary to make that change. I mean, a big old tree doesn't come down in a whisper. It crashes down to the ground. And I think that it will be a little bit nasty, if you like, but it will clear the way. It will create an opening in the forest where something new can grow. And there has to be something. There has to be something for those people who've been told you cannot do anything about governance. Once in 4 years you can put in the button and that's it, right? And they have to be given something, a value proposition that they say, hey, if I go to this system, all of a sudden I can do something about it. And all of a sudden I am again in control. What I do does matter. And that will require some serious marketing and thinking to get that done. But once over that hump, you will see a big change coming.
Can we say that, you said in swarm organizations or swarm organizations, the individual does not need a very high level of intelligence, but collectively they have a collective intelligence. Can we see artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT, maybe also as a collective intelligence right now?
Knowing that the information that it is using came from other people. So, and it's because it's so well connected within that network, it can access all that information and bring it together. That is collective intelligence because he didn't make it up himself. Humans, most of the time, they did. If we could do the same as humans, if I can tap into all the brains of every individual on this planet, I beat ChatGPT anytime. But we don't have that link. So, and somehow these animals do have that link, right? The birds, the beasts, whatever they have, and it's probably something we cannot even see.
What is it?
Quantum entanglement, something like that. I don't know. It is an energy that we have no clue how it works, where it is, but it is there. Wow. We know it is there because we've proven it with the quantum entanglement experiments. So we know that the little energy waves, it's not more than a package of energy spinning in nothing, the Planck constant is called, has the capability to connect to another wave and go into resonance. And it does that faster than the speed of light. What it is, we don't know. I think that if everything in this universe is made of that stuff, it's in us. It's in the birds, in the bees. Somehow it's still there. We lost it. We now need AI and blockchain and DAO technology to kind of access it again. It would rise the consciousness of the entire human race if one day we could connect. And see the total beauty, if you take this to the human brain, right? We have like 800 billion neurons. Right, so these are little switches, transistors. What are they? I don't know. Neurons. And the neurons have no intelligence. We know that because we tested it. There's nothing in there. It's just a switch. It says yes, no, left, right. It is like a digital bit. It is the connections, the billions of connections, myelin, little wires that are wire the whole brain, collectively make the intelligence. That's a swarm. So our brains is in essence a swarm of neurons. You can see it everywhere. Why? So what will it take for other people to see that if we start as humans, individual humans, start acting as the same brain that we have up here, connecting to everything and all, that we can build a one big human brain that is infinitely more intelligent and infinitely more conscious and wisdom than any ChatGPT bot will ever be, why are we not doing that? Until now, we didn't know how. Now we have a tool, we have a technology that we can do that with. So this is where me and Chris are working on. This is what we're trying to establish. Make that system that can make a human swarm.
Wow. And I really hope we will see it in the near future.
It will take a while. It takes, I hope somebody will come to us pretty soon and say, well, how much money do we need? And because it is really, you're talking about, just to give you an impression, just to get the basic working principle done, you're talking about somewhere between 1 and 10 million euros or dollars to make that. And then you have the scalability and everything. So it's a big, it's not a simple, it's not Airbnb or something or Uber. It's a little bit more than that. Yeah. But let's hope somebody listens to this podcast and say, hey, that's an interesting story. And well, yeah, either way, it's lots of fun to think about it and to in this age and era where we are right now. I always say to people when I do the lectures, say, you're lucky. This happens only once every 200 years, and you're part of it.
Wow.
So don't be scared.
Yes.
Enjoy the ride.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to the studio, Evert. And
Thank you again for having me here.
Thanks for sharing your knowledge and all the information that you shared. And I really hope that a platform like Symbiosis will exist in the near future, because I really think that we need it.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay.